I was after a relatively successful film called Bozar, and I started working on a new project that collapsed, and I really didn't know what I would do next. And I had a real crisis. I thought that I would never find a story that would be worth all this energy and all this work that a film requires. And then the idea for this film came, and it's a tiny idea. It's really, and it seemed like a good thing to do just as a diversion, just as a way to fill the time until I find something bigger. So I started working on it, and as I was working on it, I discovered that even though it's a very small narrative, the themes are very big and are very, very relevant to my life. So it almost happened by accident. First of all, the book you mentioned is a book that I loved. And of course it inspired me, but I didn't really make the connection to this movie until later someone pointed out to me how close the father character in my movie is to Amos Oz's father, and just the relationship between his father and Klausner. And of course it takes place in a world, it's one generation prior to the time that my film takes place, but it has a connection to the world that Amos Oz describes, at least the Jerusalem part of his story. And I like that they're connected, but I can't really say that there's a direct reference. It's more my nightmare than my reality. I don't think, my father really has nothing to do with this character. He is a scientist and he is a professor at the university in Jerusalem. But he is very, very different than the character in the film, and our relationship is healthy, and he's supportive of me, and as much as a son can be. Of course, I'm very proud of my father. So it's not biographical, but it does touch things that scare me, more as a father than as a son. Like I wonder what will happen if my son decides to go into my field, to be a filmmaker, and what will happen if he makes films that I hate. And to make that even a more complicated scenario, what will happen if he makes films that I hate that are more successful than my films? So these are questions that I don't know how I would deal with, and that's why they're in the film. What I found is that people who have been recognized and their work is valued, and they know it, they know that what they're doing is respected by their peers, they can be very calm and comfortable about it. They don't have to prove anything, and they can say, okay, these awards are not so meaningful, I can live without them. That comes from a position of luxury. For people who were never recognized and go through a lifetime of hard work with never gaining the respect that they think they deserve, these awards are very, very important because they've eluded them their whole life. And it's tragic. So the father character in my film is someone who doesn't know how meaningless these awards are, because no one has ever given him one. And as the film progresses, the audience and this character are forced to face the emptiness of what these awards really mean. And I can say, as someone who's been to the Oscars twice, it is empty. I have friends who are in the Judaic Studies department at Hebrew University in Jerusalem and other universities. It's my social circle. The Talmud department is a very small department, but it's notorious. Everyone knows about it. So I was hearing stories, and when I start working on a film, I tell people around me what I'm working on, and it's nice because everyone wants to contribute a story or an anecdote that they know. So I was accumulating all these stories about the Talmud department, and then finally I decided to meet a professor on a regular basis. Every week I would come to his office and we would discuss the different issues that the world of Talmud research is dealing with now. And he helped me understand the history of the department at the Hebrew University, the history of the ideas and how they evolved, and how just mapping out the different scholars and the different views. So while I was writing, I had this professor to talk to, and he gave me insight. I like working with experienced actors. Working with young actors, especially if it's their first role on film, sometimes there's an excitement because you're discovering something new and the actor is discovering something new about himself. But it's scary for me from a director's point of view, because an actor who has been on set and already knows what he can do and what he can't do and how he reacts to different environments, it helps. The mother character, Judith, is a very big part of the story. She's really the catalyst for a lot of what happens. And her situation is extremely dramatic. It's true, though, that the film is told from the perspective of the two men. And it focuses on their point of view. So I'd say that even though the women are not dramatically active in every scene, their role in the grand picture is very significant. I've been working with the same sound designer for a few films now, and it's a process that we've been going through on what the role of music is in a film. Sometimes I get really, I'm bothered by the use of music, because music is really, it's an intervention that feels almost not legitimate. And I hate the moment where a music cue suddenly comes in and tells you now it's sad, now it's happy, now it's funny. Strange. And in previous films, I tried to keep the music neutral, very long cues and not melodic. Here it was clear, though, that we needed a score to enhance the story. We needed something that would tell the audience that the film is about something much bigger than what's actually on screen. So we were working with scores that are very, very dramatic. And you can't hide them, you can't put them in the background. So we went to a composer who works in a style that doesn't apologize for what it is. It's big, significant, dominant music that calls attention to itself. And we put it on the front. It's not in the back of a scene. If the music is there, it's there. While we were working on it, some of the people were afraid that it's too intrusive. But I thought that it was justified. And I'm very proud of the choice we took, because I know that the film needed it. I know that the film needed that kind of support. I don't know. I think there's security checks wherever you go. And it's not usually about the security. It's about the question if you belong or not. There are some things that are just security. They want to know, do you have a bomb or not? And if you don't have a bomb, you're okay. But most security guards are standing between you, or where you are, and where you want to be. And they have to open the door for you. And that's, there's a symbolic level to that idea, and there's a practical level. In Israel, I think the symbolic and the practical side keep on bumping into each other. Every time you want to go into a hotel, a party, a screening, or anything, someone asks you, do you belong? Who invited you? Who are you? And if the answer is, I'm nobody, I don't belong, it's very sad. And if the answer is, I'm somebody and I belong everywhere, here, here's the door, just enter it, we love you, it's a good feeling. So that's what the security check is really about. And of course, it's, in the context of this film, it's a big part of the father's life, having to prove that he belongs, or show that he's recognized somewhere. There are different ways to measure how a movie is received. But I think that there's only one objective way, and that's admissions, how many people buy tickets. So it's been very successful, and that's good. I don't know if everyone who buys a ticket likes the film, but I'm happy that people are curious to go see it. And I think if you look at what's out in cinemas, They're ordinary films. Some of them are justify going out to the theater. Most of them don't. And I think this is a special kind of film, and it's worth the risk. I don't think it's for everybody, but I think it's something that if you go out and you go see a movie once a month or once every 2 months, this is not a bad choice. It gives an experience that allows you to think about some of the things on screen. So it's done well in Israel and a few other places. Thank God.